executive producing. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the dagger?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic is in Spain this week to get specialized treatment for his hamstring injury. The Lakers gave Doncic permission to make the trip. Doncic is counting on the treatment in Spain to speed up his recovery process. The NBA's leading scorer is projected to miss 3 to 4 weeks after injuring his hamstring on Friday. The Lakers are not sure if Doncic will be available for the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Lakers already know Austin Reeves will miss the first round. Reeves could also miss the second round if the Lakers get that far. Reeves is projected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a strained oblique muscle. The Lakers are at home tonight against Oklahoma City. The Clippers are at home tonight against Dallas. Michigan beat UConn Monday night 69-63 for the NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship. First national title for the Michigan men's basketball program since 1989. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
We going. My pants poster sad. We going ultra. Yeah. We going ultra black. I got a toast to that. We don't fold the crack. We going. Occasion we rose to that. Going postal. We going ultra black. Watching the global change. Hopping the coldest range. Hit boy on the beat. This poster slap. We going ultra black. We going. Rhythm and blues, pop, rock, soul to jazz, to my toes attack. How I look being told, I'm not supposed to brag. Nobody fault, I tell the truth, I know what's facts. We ultra black, gray stone, skin tone, but multi that. Multiple colors, we come in all shades, mocha black. Except where I'm at and not fight me on it. Emotional stares like I might be wanted. Pitch black like the night, I'm ultra black. Sanford and Son reruns, jokes are black. Oh yes, God bless success. We going ultra black, like the S is fast. Talk with a mask on. The freshest
KBLA Talk
African
1580. Hate to talk over Nas, but yeah, we're going ultra black right now and all day, every day. Welcoming in the executive director of the Black to the Future Action Fund in the Black Futures Lab. She spent over 15 years building grassroots campaigns to win Black political power. At Black Futures Lab, she led the voter education and mobilization of rural voters in priority states, launching a statewide voter mobilization effort to reach 50,000 Black voters in North Carolina counties ahead of the November election. She's got a long history of organizing, and we will delve into that today. Kristin Powell, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Dominique.
Yeah, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a very timely conversation. Let's start with let's start with the basics. What is the Black to the Future Action Fund, and what is the Black Futures Lab?
So Black Futures Lab, which is a 501c3, and our partner organization, Black to the Future Action Fund, which is a 501c4, We are building Black political power, and so we're doing that in a few ways. One, we are equipping Black campaigners, organizers, policymakers to have the tools that they need to win across cities and states. We are organizing Black people in the rural South and in the Midwest in communities that are under-organized and under-engaged. And we're also keeping our finger on the pulse of what Black people want and what will motivate them to become civically engaged. And that's what we're up to right now with the Black Census Project, which is why I'm excited to talk to you today.
Yep. Well, this is not something new. The Black Census Project, I believe, been around since 2018.
Yes, we started it in 2018. We did it again in 2022. So this is our third iteration of the project.
And so the U.S. Census happens every 10 years. Sounds like you guys are doing this about every 4 years. What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, so the Black Census Project is working to do a few things. Our goal is to understand what Black people want for their communities, how they think about voting, politics, as a tool to make sure that the messaging and engagement that we do in Black communities actually reaches our folks so that we can vote and be civically engaged all year round. But also this census is about changing the narrative about what Black people are talking about and what will motivate them. So like in 2022 and even 2024, there's all these stories about what Black people were going to do, what narratives about Black men and how they were thinking, but it wasn't rooted in data, right? And so people are talking to 500 folks in a poll, maybe 1,000 people, and then determining what all Black people want. And we're not a monolith. And so the Black Census Project is a large-scale listening project. And so last time we did it, we reached 211,000 Black people over all 50 states and all different types of demographics. And what's important about that is we can actually prove with data what really is motivating Black people, what they really are thinking about the times, instead of made-up rhetoric. And there's lots of folks talking about us and not to us, and the Black Census Project talks to us.
Yeah, that's one of my kind of, I want to call it pet peeves or main missions, is that we call every Tuesday Talking Point Tuesday, because I think that we sometimes repeat things that we hear, or truisms, or things that we recycle back to ourselves from the media or from social media that sound true, but they're just not true. And they're not supported by data, and I feel like they undermine us. They don't serve our communities or our interests, but they kind of stick in our head like a bad song and keep getting repeated. So one of the reasons I do Talking Point Tuesday is I want to sort of debunk and undermine those things so that we can at least be conscious of what we're saying. So can you give me an example of something that really stood out to you that, came out of this data about Black people that counteracted the narrative that we hear in the mainstream media or even among ourselves?
Yeah, so in 2022, when we reached 211,000 Black people with this survey, there was a lot of narratives that Black men specifically were leaving or disengaging from the Democratic Party in droves. And the data just didn't support that. We talked to over 100,000 Black men, and by and large, they were still very leaning towards voting either progressive or towards the Democratic Party. I will say, though, many Black people, and I think we'll see this in the next survey, are starting to identify themselves more as independent versus with a party. But there was this rhetoric that they had totally disengaged, which just wasn't true. And we saw that after the election, right? In 2024, Black men still were the second highest voter turnout for Kamala Harris. Another thing that we found in the data in previous cycles was that about the economy. So there was a lot of conversation about what Black people cared most about, and they cared about their pocketbooks, specifically affordable housing, affordable child care, and affordable health care. And on that healthcare piece, there was a lot of stories about the right for women to choose and a lot of engagement around that. But what we found is that if you're engaging Black communities, especially in the South, around abortion access, it's not a winning strategy. It's not how they think about that issue. And so the Black Census Project helped to open the eyes of how can we engage Black communities, specifically Black women, around that access, because much of the messaging that's happening from the progressive leaning folks alienates Black people. But we figured that out through the Black Census Project, and that's why it's so important to talk to us.
I'm laughing, Ms. Powell, because I could have told you that. You know what I mean? I talk to Black people every day, and I've been doing so for 30 years. It's like, I could have told you that. It's not rocket science. But there's something
It's not rocket science.
It's not rocket science, but there's something also very powerful about having the data to support what we know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, because, at the root, this country is anti-Black, and we see it in both party systems. And so Black people have been saying, we're living in fascism. Black people have been saying, this is not how you reach us, and we're not listened to. And that's why the Black Census Project is important, because we have the data to prove what we're saying, even though we shouldn't need it.
Yeah. Congresswoman Maxine Waters told me that one time. We're just having a conversation, during the commercials, and she said that the Democratic Party needs more people like us who, who talk to Black people every day with their to help with their messaging, because I hear that all the time. And not just the Democratic Party. I mean, progressives in general, progressive causes. Every day I hear things and I say, what? Who thought that was a good idea? So talk about, Morris is here in the chat, and he's asking, does the Democratic Party fund your work? And I'm guessing the answer is no.
Absolutely not. No, we are not any part affiliated with the Democratic Party. We're for Black people. And so what's important is that we don't take funding from parties.
Yeah.
But also what's important is that we are building relationships with Black people regardless of how they vote. So we're not going into communities and forcing people or pushing people to vote for Democrats or progressives. We are trying to have a relationship with our folks and then help them figure out who is for them. And, with the Black Census Project, and, you can go to blackcensusproject.org right now. It takes about 10 minutes to do the survey. This iteration of it is really important. And I love what you said earlier about, we're not sliding into fascism, we're here. And one of the ways that you can fight back fascism is having alternative systems of design of a government that you can organize people towards. Right? Black folks are tired of all of this. What are we against? What are we actually for? And in this Black Census Project, we are asking Black people to imagine what is a system of government that works for them. And then we are going to design that system together and then organize people towards it. And I think that's a real opportunity right now as our federal government is attacking us from within, that we work to organize towards something different.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because at this moment in history, I always cite the ancient Yoruba saying, they say, are you going to build or are you going to destroy? Well, we see the destruction that's going on before our eyes, and we see the deterioration of, whatever level of democracy we have had. We know we've never quite achieved a multiracial democracy that, we tout. But if this whole thing burns, what's next? If no one's imagining that and no one's building that, then what do we have? So I think that's a really, really good argument for going to blackcensusproject.org and taking that survey, putting your ideas and your opinions into the mix, into the data pool, so that we can take the way you view the world into consideration. An important conversation on this day. Kristin Powell, Executive Director of Black to the Future Action Fund and the Black Futures Lab, is joining us. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Kristin Powell, Executive Director of Black to the Future Action Fund and Black Futures Lab. Got a long track record of community organizing. And I wanted to, I guess, take a moment to underline something you said, this, and which Morris brought up. This work that you're doing is not funded by a party. Why is that important? When we talk about data, when we talk about evidence and evidence-backed conversations, it's not really considered legit data if it's funded only by a partisan effort, right? Or by a corporate sponsor, per se.
Exactly. And also, we have been experimented on as Black people. We have been harmed by so many different people saying that they're collecting data for good. And it's really important to acknowledge that and why it's so powerful that we started this survey in 2018, reaching 30,000 people. And 4 years later, we got 211,000 people to engage with the survey. And this time we're going to reach 300,000 because it's showing that we're building trust in the Black community. It also is anonymous, so you don't have to share who you are. We do invite you at the end of the survey if you're interested in tapping in, because once we get the data, we want to start organizing towards the vision that Black people have cast, and we hope that you will join us, but you don't have to. You can watch us from afar or tap in later, but it is an anonymous survey, and it's really important that partisan politics is not a part of that. Also, just to make the point that Black people have been harmed by both parties. And so we're not in any way in support of those institutions. Our goal is to make sure that Black communities can thrive and that we are activated to hold accountable whoever's in office to get us what we need.
Yeah, I mean, we can do a whole discussion on that on another day. That's not the conversation we want to tee up today. My personal opinion is that we've been harmed more by one party than another. But I also think it's super important to have a space where we're looking at what is it that's really going on with us? What are we doing? What do we want? Where are we going? And I wanted to put a pin in that too, because you talked about the moving away from just only what we're against and looking at what we're for. Go a little deeper into that.
Yeah, when I started organizing professionally in 2010, I was working in Jacksonville, Florida, and we spent so much time. I had thousands of one-to-one conversations with folks in that community, and we are constantly tapping into what people's pain points are. Where are all the injustices that we've experienced? What's the anger that we have about our institutions? And even though it's really important that we share our stories so that we're not alone, I want to see a day where we are organizing around our dreams, not just our nightmares. And with the Black Census Project, the goal is to cast a vision for what comes next, which is really important because Black people have been told so many times, you just got to get this person in office. You just got to do this next step, and we're going to start to see progress. And we need a whole overhaul of the whole system because, again, the system is anti-Black at its root. And if we're not challenging the anti-Blackness that is throughout our country and then centering Black voices and designing what comes next, we'll just repeat this same story in the next 20 to 30 years. We've been repeating it, right? And so that's why it's important that we are organizing towards something and not just what we're against.
Right. It's always the most important election of our lifetime. It's always if we don't get this person in, it's all over. Well, we are kind of seeing a terrible scenario play out at the moment. Yeah. But, definitely we get burnt out with it's always the most important. And if we can just get over this hill, this hill, so what are we building, I think is a great point. And I know I want to keep saying this because I know this is radio and folks tap in and out on their way to here, there, and everywhere. BlackCensusProject.org is where we can go and we can just fill out the survey. It's free. And we can say our name or not say our name, and it takes 10 minutes. Yeah. Yep. Give me some other examples of some trend lines on the what we want side, as opposed to the what we don't want side that have come out so far in the two different surveys that you've already done.
Yeah, what I will say is the first two surveys that we did is a little different from this one. Because those surveys assume that we had a government that felt that it worked for the people. And we're not currently in that system right this moment. And so some of our questions in previous years weren't as imaginative as they are in this iteration. But in previous cycles, we heard a lot about an education system that works for us. These are not going to be surprises to you. A policing system that doesn't have us under attack. But the other thing that I thought was really interesting in the last survey that I want to note is that at times Black people surprised us or even sometimes contradicted themselves in the survey. So in 2022, we asked, and we are asking this again, and I think we'll see even more trends towards the negative, but we asked about a list of institutions in the country, and do Black people trust them or not? So federal government, police, banks, corporations, those types of things. And overwhelmingly, Black people said they didn't trust anyone. There was some trust of small businesses, but other than that, they didn't trust any of the institutions we asked about. And we think we'll see probably even more distrust. But so in that point, they did not trust corporations. But when asked earlier in the survey about corporations and whether or not they should pay more taxes, Black people overwhelmingly said no. And what's interesting about that is if you dig into the data, we are seeing a trend of Black people who are building wealth for themselves, seeing themselves in some ways in line with corporations or dreams of being a billionaire. And we've got to really unpack the way that the Black wealth movement in some ways can harm our movement towards liberation. And then also a lot of Black people who are more working class in the survey, who might work in factories or things like that, have heard so much rhetoric from probably their own institutions about why more taxes could mean less money for them, which is a lie. And so those types of things come up in the survey, and I'm really interested to see with this next survey that's happening right now, blackcensusproject.org, what contradictions might come from the data.
Now, see, that does surprise me, the thing that Black people told the survey that they don't want corporations to pay more taxes. That I would not have guessed. But I will say that I can see the trend line, because the way that people identify with Elon Musk, or the way that they identify with Donald Trump as an aspirational figure. Well, you know, I want to be like him. I want a gold toilet, and I want a Melania. I want to, you know, I want to own Tesla, and I want to own rocket ships. So I could see that trend line in terms of the way people defend or even, you know, identify with Trump or Musk or others. But I would not have guessed that we would say corporations shouldn't pay more taxes. And your analysis of it, looking at how the sort of capitalism in Black movement masks a lot of other problems or challenges or issues in our community about wealth, how it's distributed, the working class, and the rights of the vast majority of our people. That does make sense. And again, you know, people need to at least look at these things in creating their messaging. We only have 60 seconds before news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue on the other side. So maybe you don't have time to answer this, but I'm wondering, are people accessing this? Progressive think tanks, leadership, even in political parties, are they accessing your data? Is it impacting them?
The answer is yes. I can share more after the break.
Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, that's good news because I feel like there's probably a long way to go, but I feel like the gap between what we say and do in our community and how we're projected and portrayed in the media, not just in entertainment, but in the political circles as well, is a pretty significant gap. I'm gonna encourage our delegation, our KBLA delegation, to go to blackcensusproject.org, blackcensusproject.org. Take the 10 minutes, fill it out, and make your voice heard as we continue our conversation with Black to the Future Action Fund and the Black Futures Lab. You can be filling out a survey. That's all straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. A civil rights trial is underway in Chicago over the 2021 police shooting death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by white officer Eric Tillman. The Toledo family's lawyer spoke.
We look forward to presenting the facts and evidence to a jury and having a jury decide whether this shooting was justified.
Jury selection begins next week with opening statements set for April 20th. Rebecca King Cruz is opening up about her decade-long battle with Parkinson's disease, saying recent treatment has improved her symptoms. Originally, she says doctors dismissed early symptoms as anxiety. Her husband, actor and TV host Terry Crews, praised her resilience after years of health challenges. And WNBA star Angel Reese has been traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream for 2 first-round picks. This signals a shift toward a long-term rebuild as the Sky struggle to retain star talent. Get BIN News now, on demand, 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic is in Spain this week to get specialized treatment for his hamstring injury. The Lakers gave Doncic permission to make the trip. Doncic is counting on the treatment in Spain to speed up his recovery process. The NBA's leading scorer is projected to miss 3 to 4 weeks after injuring his hamstring on Friday. The Lakers are not sure if Doncic will be available for the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Lakers already know Austin Reeves will miss the first round. Reeves could also miss the second round if the Lakers get that far. Reeves is projected to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a strained oblique muscle. The Lakers are at home tonight against Oklahoma City. The Clippers are at home tonight against Dallas. Michigan beat UConn Monday night 69-63 for the NCAA Men's Basketball National Championship. First national title for the Michigan men's basketball program since 1989. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
I need a little ranch, step to the ranch.
There's a new flavor in town, the Jalapeno Ranch Club at Chick-fil-A. With that juicy Chick-fil-A original spicy or grilled chicken, a buttermilk ranch bun, candied bacon, pepper jack cheese, and jalapeno ranch sauce. It's got big ranch vibes with a little heat. Chick-fil-A's new Jalapeno Ranch Club, available for a limited time only. Order ahead on the Chick-fil-A app.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs. Stay informed with 24/7 power outage alerts from LADWP delivered straight to your phone or email when an outage occurs. Get notified when there's a major outage and again when your power is restored. Track up to 3 neighborhoods, like your home, your workplace, even a family member's. Stay connected. Stay informed. Sign up at ladwp.com/outage alert. That's ladwp.com/outage alert. Sign up today at ladwp.com/outage alert.
Paid for by government. The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full-pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guarantee. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Can we just talk? You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
We don't. We hope you don't either. And we are talking Black political power. We are talking with Kristin Powell, the executive director of the Black Futures Lab. And this year, under her leadership, the census will capture the challenges of Black communities facing, but also looks to capture visions of a thriving future. And we are talking about that today. I asked you before news, traffic, and sports, who can access this data, or who is accessing it? Is it our political leaders looking at it, our educational institutions, media, even political parties?
Yeah, all of the above. To take you back to 2018, after our first census, we put out a Black agenda that outlined a roadmap of what it would take in terms of policy wins in order to transform Black communities. And the Build Back Better coalition that was challenging President Biden at the time took many of those suggestions as their ask to the president, one of those being to nominate a Black female Supreme Court justice. In 2022, we had a large-scale partnership with 40-plus Black organizations that were doing grassroots organizing across the country, and they use that data for organizing strategy, which I think is really important because we talk a lot about messaging, and of course we saw that at the national scale, but we really need to be in relationship with Black communities all year round and not have a transactional relationship with our folks, which means that we need to have Black organizing groups really understand how this data can be used for their strategy. And so we did that in 2022. This year, before we even launched, we got a lot of interest from policy institutes, electeds, wanting to know when the data will come out and how it can be used. And for example, PolicyLink, Demos, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation are all institutions that are engaging with the data and are going to use it for their own strategies. One thing that I will say about it is we will be putting up-to-date information on our website as the data comes in, and we will do a first look of what the data is telling us sometime in August or September. We won't reach our full goal of 300,000 by then, but we'll have enough data, at least 100,000 survey respondents in, to be able to engage with media, engage with organizations about how we can use the findings of this to impact the upcoming elections.
Yeah, so that preliminary analysis lands before the midterm elections.
Yes.
And how do you see that affecting the elections, if at all?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really important, back to our conversation about messaging. It's going to impact how we think about engaging Black people. We can't just redo our playbook from 2024 or 2022. We have to look at what the data is telling us and how we're going to engage Black people. But it'll also combat the narratives that are going to come, right? If we thought that the disinformation and misinformation was on 100 last cycle, it's going to be on 500 this cycle, especially about Black communities. And so this data will also help combat the mis and disinformation that we're going to see all over social media. In Black Futures Lab itself, we're working in rural communities across the South, in Georgia, North Carolina, Louisiana, to activate Black voters in communities that aren't typically engaged in elections so that we can change the balance of power in those states. And then lastly, I think it's, we don't even know if elections will be safe in 2026.
Right.
And we need to be engaging Black communities right now in plans for voting, in alternative plans for voting, in securing the vote. And the more that we get folks tapped into Black Census Project and other organizing efforts happening right now, the more that we can make sure that they're in relationship with us and can pivot if we have to do things differently depending on whatever is thrown from the federal government at us, which seems to be new things every 30 days.
Yeah. So, man, so many questions coming out of that. I mean, because we don't know what's happened, and we don't know what's facing us in the midterms, certainly not in 2028. Some of us are still not convinced about what happened in 2024. Yeah. But you framed us in terms of mis and disinformation, and one of the alarming things for me is learning about how specifically Black communities are targeted online, and it could be from Asia, could be from Russia. We saw when Elon Musk, remember when he inadvertently for a little while let us see the origins of some of these Twitter accounts. And we found out some of these super supposedly pro-Black Twitter accounts are really in China or Russia. And I guess the question has to do with how do we combat that? And I know, you're gathering data, not necessarily in that kind of an advocacy role, but I'm really interested in how do we grow our media literacy? How do we grow our sophistication level so that we're not buffeted around quite so much when the mis and disinformation does turn up to 500 level this next cycle?
Yeah, I mean, the really important thing is that we have to be on the ground. We cannot just rely on civic engagement tactics that are digital. And that means that we need to be scaling our door knocking, our going to events across the movement. At Black Futures Lab, again, we work in 3 states in the South, and we are working to scale our efforts. But one of the ways that we are able to combat mis and disinformation is through relationships with Black communities and talking through with them what they're seeing and answering those questions. They're not going to do that through a text message. If all we're doing is texting people or all we're doing is sending them a Facebook ad, we have to be talking to them. The other thing is many of our organizations, we're one of them, but you see organizations like Black Voters Matter, like Color of Change, doing a lot of national political education. And you can go to their webinars and series that they're having to help people get more media literate. So if you haven't tapped into those resources, I think Working Families Party as well has been doing that. Those are other ways that we can train ourselves to understand what we're seeing and not fall into the traps, because one of their main strategies is to target Black and brown communities with mis and disinformation.
Yeah. Paul Lee says in the chat that Black progressives are different than other progressives, and that is one of the reasons why surveys like this are important. How would you respond to that statement?
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say that a large percentage of Black people who actually lean progressive don't know what that term even is. and wouldn't identify themselves. Quick example, I was with my hairdresser, and I got her to do the census project while she was doing my hair this week. And I asked her all the different kind of progressive, liberal, libertarian, all the things of how would you identify yourself? And she's like, I don't know what any of that means. I just know that I need, and she started to say the things that she was interested in, and they were all progressive values. And so I think the one thing that we have to know is, yes, we are different, Black progressives, and we've got to meet people where they are and talk to us plain.
Yeah. I think it's a good point. I laugh because I also think a lot of politicians who call themselves that don't know what it means either. And it's just like a buzzword to say. I call them progressive posers. Oh, this is popular. I'll just say this. But what does it actually mean? Yeah. When you talk about a Black agenda, you mentioned that in passing. This is something that comes up over and over and over again on my show, going back, 30 years since I've been on this mic. It's like, there's no Black agenda. There's no Black agenda. It's a claim that I push back on, because I think that we do have some things that we tend to be pretty unified around. But what's your perception of a Black agenda, and how does the Black Census play into that?
Well, we've built two of them. In 2020, after the first census that we did, we built a Black agenda. You can actually still access it on our Black #2, so Black2, the Future Action Fund.org. But we had our Black agenda in 2020 that came out of the census findings. In 2023, we did a second Black economic agenda that was centered on the findings of the last census project. And so we've been producing a Black agenda that folks are organizing around, because we do know what's unifying. Right now, what's unifying is affordable housing, affordable childcare, and affordable health care, and a government that doesn't dehumanize us. And so with this next census, we will be putting out an agenda that will come from the findings. But instead of just a policy agenda, it really will be casting a vision for what our democracy can actually look like, not just policy proposals.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're talking about a system, what system we see as ideal, rather than just what laws or rules or programs we can put in place under the current system. Is that a fair regurgitation of what you just said?
Yeah, exactly. Because we have to think beyond the system that we know that's not ever worked for us. Black people time and time again have told us, I know they've told you, that they have not experienced this democracy we speak of, right? Because of all of the different ways that we are attacked from within because of the color of our skin. And so what will work for us? And one thing I want to mention, and it probably is duh for your audience, but just want to name it, that what's best for Black people is best for the country. What we're seeing right now is white people deciding a set of values that they want this country to live off of, right? They're patriarchal or male-led, their skewed version of Christianity that's false, militarized internationally, and then highly policed nationally. And they want our country to be those values, but that only works for a very small group of people, mostly billionaires, to get their pockets lined. But when Black people envision a future for this country, it's a vision that's inclusive of all of us. And so when we cast that vision, it's a vision for the whole nation, not just for a select few.
It's interesting that you say that, too, because I feel like the framing right now on this Talking Point Tuesday is that anything that helps Black people hurts everyone else. You know what I mean? It's this anti-DEI mentality that says if Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson got a job, that means somebody else didn't get a job. Or if Black people buy houses, that means somebody else can't get houses. It's this zero-sum kind of mentality which seems to have been growing, and it's not accidental. Obviously, that's part of what this administration pushes, this zero-sum game, and so it's interesting that you point that out. I think it is a duh for our audience, but I do feel like it's a talking point that we need to keep saying, because the opposite is being reaffirmed on so many different platforms right now. Not just in government, but in entertainment and in media, mainstream media.
Yeah, it's being regurgitated, and that's all by design, right? A big tenet of fascism is to create an enemy and then get everyone focused on that enemy when the enemy is actually the person in charge, right? So instead of focusing on the President of the United States, who is putting policies that are killing people overseas and in our country, they're focused on immigrants. They're having us focus on Black people who have worked really hard to get jobs. I mean, the attack on Black women through these anti-DEI practices is going to hit our communities for decades and decades to come. My own mother, that's how she built the little bit of financial security that she had, was through a federal government job. And no one worked harder than her and many other Black women across this country who got those jobs. But we've been convinced, not we, but the whites in our country have been convinced that those things are without merit, right? But that really is all designed for them to become tools of the fascist regime, and we've got to fight back on that.
We're talking with Kristin Powell. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, LA. Tax money is our money. Let's decide how to spend it together. We deserve investments that actually make our neighborhoods safe, like affordable housing, good jobs, fire prevention and protection, and community support programs. How can we make that happen? Join Black Lives Matter Los Angeles and the Movement for Black Lives for the People's Budget Assembly on April 16th. Together, we'll discuss solutions to problems we're facing and make a plan with fellow Angelinos for a city that works for the people. There'll be food, childcare, and great conversation. It's time to demand a budget that puts the people first. Join us on April 16th at 7 p.m. at BLMLA's Center for Black Power and make your voice heard before the Assembly through the People's Budget Survey. Register today at peoplesbudgetla.com. We'll see you there.
Get the 411 on 411. Saturday, April 11th, join us at Victory Park in Pasadena for the Altadena Build Together Fair from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. For those impacted by the Eaton Canyon fire, if you've been asking, where do I start? How do I rebuild? Who can help? This is for you. We're bringing together the resources, the experts, and the support you need all in one place. Plus, music, food, and activities for the whole family. Visit actionaltadena.com. The Altadena Build Together Fair, because rebuilding starts together.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
And it is election season. Election season is upon us. There are primaries taking place in several states today as we unfold this conversation with Kristin Powell, Executive Director of the Black Futures Lab, urging you to go to blackcensusproject.org, blackcensusproject.org, and spend 10 minutes to make your opinion known. You know, when we look at the voter suppression that's happening, and that's, as you say, even ramping up more than what we saw in 2024, the pushing of the SAVE Act, which would disenfranchise a whole bunch of people, myself included, from voting. What do you think? How do you think we ought to be responding to this? I feel like some folks are being discouraged from voting or feeling like it doesn't, make any difference, or throwing up our hands in some sense.
Yeah, we really need to hyper-focus on our local supervisor elections, the state supervisor elections, or whatever the title is in your state, and make sure that they have plans to protect the vote, regardless of what's coming down at the federal government. Like, local advocacy still works. We also need to make sure that as organizations, Black organizations who are trying to make sure that Black people get out to vote, that we are putting in place security measures to support people voting as groups, voting early, making sure that we have security plans if vigilantes, for example, show up at Black and brown voter polling locations to intimidate people, that we have plans in place for that. And many of our organizations are building that right now, which is why we've been at Black Futures Lab really challenging philanthropy to support Black and brown organizations in the fight to secure the vote on the ground, and to really make sure that we're hyper-focused on local and state infrastructure to do that well.
What if those vigilantes are ICE? I mean, that's what they're talking about, right?
Exactly.
Putting ICE at the polls.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to, right now, talking to your local police chiefs, your local sheriff's offices who do work for you, and organizing, not you just as an individual, but organizing with local groups in your city to challenge them right now. They need to have a plan. It's their responsibility to secure your local community to be able to vote safely and securely. And so we can get ahead of that by organizing right now and not waiting for whether vigilantes like ICE show up, but preparing for it when they do, having our local plan so that we protect ourselves.
Got about a minute here, Kristin Powell. You can use it however you want, but I'm thinking about letting folks know why participating in the Black Census is important.
Yeah, for me, I think a lot about myself as a Black person in this country whose father got trapped in the criminal justice system, who have had to advocate for myself and my son to get health care that we've deserved, and we're not always believed by professionals. And it's just a system that continues to dehumanize us as Black people. And I believe that 250 years from now, this country can be a country, so the next 250 years, where my descendants or our descendants aren't still fighting for their own humanity in a country that they built. And that starts with us right now, casting that vision and organizing towards it. And so it takes 10 minutes, blackcensusproject.org, to fill out the survey. It's anonymous, but we hope that you'll also tap into the movement to build towards that future.
Yeah, it's well said. Blackcensusproject.org. And I want to thank you, Kristin Powell, for the conversation and for the work that you're doing. We hear so much about we're not building a Black agenda, we're not building Black power, and sometimes folks simply aren't aware of the organizations that are doing that work and that they can be a part of it.
Yes, yeah, and thank you for giving us this platform. We hope you guys will take the census and follow us, Black Futures Lab and Black to the Future Action Fund, on all the social media channels if you're on social media.
Thank you so much. Tavis Smiley.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got a great show on tap for you. Surprise, surprise. He does every day, delivering amazing guests and high-level conversation. Don't forget, you can keep the convo going with me on social media. I'm at Deprima Radio, or tap in at KBLA 1580. Like my dad, Amiri Baraka, the former poet laureate of New Jersey, used to say, a person is either free or they are not free. There can be no apprenticeship for freedom. I'm Dominique Deprima. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BAN News Now. A civil rights trial is underway in Chicago over the 2021 police shooting death of 13-year-old Adam Toledo by white officer Eric Tillman. The Toledo family's lawyer spoke.
We look forward to presenting the facts and evidence to a jury and having a jury decide whether this shooting was justified.
Jury selection begins next week with opening statements set for April 20th. Rebecca King Cruz is opening up about her decade-long battle with Parkinson's disease, saying recent treatment has improved her symptoms. Originally, she says doctors dismissed early symptoms as anxiety. Her husband, actor and TV host Terry Crews, praised her resilience after years of health challenges. And WNBA star Angel Reese has been traded from the Chicago Sky to the Atlanta Dream for 2 first-round picks. This signals a shift toward a long-term rebuild as the Sky struggle to retain star talent. Get BIN News now, on demand, 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Lakers star Luka Doncic is in Spain this week to get specialized treatment for his hamstring injury. The Lakers gave Doncic permission to make the trip. Doncic is counting on the treatment in Spain to speed up his recovery process. The NBA's leading scorer is projected to miss 3 to 4 weeks after injuring his hamstring on Friday. The Lakers are not sure if Doncic will be available for the first round of the NBA playoffs. The Lakers already know Austin Reeves will miss the first round. Reeves could also miss the second round if the